Welcome to part two of the Leveraging Peer Coaching at Work series, brought to you by the Alameda County Training and Education Center. I'm Maria Martins, trainer and consultant, and will be your facilitator for this series. Today is part two, Effective Peer Coaching Tools. Before we get started, let's review what I shared in part one. In part one, you learned the definition of peer coaching. We discussed the benefits of peer coaching and introduced 5 key skills for effective coaching. We also identified strengths and how to use them in coaching. Our objectives for this e-series is to help you gain insight on the role of a coach, the benefits of peer coaching, the 5 key coaching skills, and the coach model. In session 1, we focused on introducing coaching as a powerful approach to empower, develop, motivate, and engage individuals in conversations that bridge where someone is to where they want to go. As we know, coaches equip others with tools, perspectives, insight, feedback to help them learn and develop and achieve their goals. Today, our focus will be providing tools to help you as a peer coach and help others to action. As we discussed in part one of our e-series, coaching provides support and guidance to individuals moving through a change process. The goal is to help them build awareness, make empowered choices, and take action toward their goals. In order to do that, we need to help a person identify a topic for coaching, which we call coachable moments. A coachable moment might be a person in need of advice, assistance, feedback, or support. Perhaps they are struggling with a task or have been assigned a new task or work duty. Perhaps they appear frustrated or concerned with their work, or maybe they're indecisive or stuck. Maybe they are performing inconsistently and need someone to help push them to be more consistent in their performance. Maybe they are unsure of their abilities and just need some support, or perhaps they've expressed a desire to improve and need an accountability partner. Once you identify a coachable moment, then you are ready to get started with peer coaching. Let's look at the coaching framework we will be using today. It is called the coach model, a simple framework that will give you basic tools to move through a coaching conversation. COACH is an acronym that will help us remember the different tools as we move through coaching. C is for creating trust and rapport. O is for observing and assessing. A is for asking powerful questions and listening. C is for challenge and feedback, and H is for holding people accountable. The first step is to create trust and rapport. Think about how you build trust. What steps do you take to do this? First, you want to remove distractions before engaging in the conversation. You might open the conversation by simply asking, "How can I help you?" You want to demonstrate interest and concern for others, admit your own vulnerabilities, and actively listen and be genuine. Think about this. Think of a time someone you know who is very effective in building trusting relationships. What did this person do well? Identify 1 to 2 things that you could do differently that would have the greatest impact on your ability to build trust and rapport with others. O is for observing and assessing. As you dive into your coaching conversation, you will be observing and assessing the behaviors your coachee is discussing. What topics might they be presenting to you? Are their behaviors and actions matching up with what they are sharing? As you listen to their story, it might be natural to want to share your observations. That is perfectly okay, but make sure you request permission to share before you do. For example, you might say, "May I share my observations with you? Are you open to receiving feedback from me?" Or, "I have a perspective about the conversation." Can I share it with you? Asking powerful questions and listening. Despite what some may think, coaches don't give advice. The whole idea is for the person you are coaching to consider their own situation and come to solutions on their own. So, how might we help them get there? We do this by asking powerful questions. Powerful questions are open ended questions to get people to consider, ponder, question, notice, awaken, and discover. Asking powerful questions create those aha moments for our coachees. You might ask questions at the beginning to start off. There are questions that you can ask to help identify issues or to clarify in the conversation. There are also questions that will help your coachee think about their goals. You also want to ask questions around accountability. And then as you end it, you can always ask, what's next? Now let's look at some examples of different questions.
What do you think are the main drivers behind that?
And what impact is this having on performance? So what stopped him from developing his team?
Sure, and what was the purpose of the visit? So what was planned for the day?
So thinking about this situation, what do you need to see Michael doing more of?
And what are the things that you would need to think about that might help you make that decision? What are your main priorities now?
How could you go about helping him do that?
So once you've got some good questions and some dialogue, you want to think about challenging and giving feedback. Challenges are meant to push your coachee beyond their limits, to give them the reaction of not wanting to accept the challenge and say no, or have to pause and think about if they are willing to accept it or not. When you find an opening to inspire higher performance, you can use a challenge. You want to communicate confidence in the person's ability to meet the challenge. You could also provide them examples of other times when they have reached a lofty goal, perhaps that they didn't think they could meet. You could also suggest an incentive for accomplishing the goal that you're challenging them with. Again, challenges are meant to make the person feel a little outside of their comfort zone, or else it truly isn't a challenge. The last step is to hold the person accountable. Holding your coachee accountable is the last piece of the puzzle. At this point, you have discussed with your coachee what it might take for them to achieve their goals. Your job is to help hold them accountable by asking them questions like, how can I support your next steps? Or, what are your next steps? You want to ensure that their goals and objectives are clearly articulated, making sure that the goals are realistic for them. And remember that you want to be able to follow up with them to ensure forward momentum. Now let's watch a short clip of coaching in action. Notice the questions that the coach uses and how she helps him get to action.
Hey, Brandon, how's it going? I mean, this week's been a little challenging. I'm having a hard time right now, actually. I have this need to be a resource to people, and so I end up saying yes to everything that comes my way. And I don't know if I'm going to finish everything on time, and it's becoming a time management issue.
Yeah. So what's your goal or desired outcome?
My desired outcome really would be to be able to say yes, but, or yes, and maybe we can extend the deadline. Ultimately, I still want people to come to me, and I'm fearful that if I say no to somebody, they're going to stop coming to me as a resource.
So what's happening currently? What are you doing currently?
The current situation, I'm spread too thin, and I'm starting to be resentful.
So what are maybe some options or strategies or things you might test out or try to help you get from where you are at right now, your current state, to your goal or desired outcome?
I think ideally, if I had somebody to delegate to, I would say yes, and then figure out if it makes sense that I'm doing it, and then push down. Otherwise, then it's saying yes, and how about in 6 weeks I can deliver this to you, or realistic couple weeks versus yeah, I'll give that back to you in a couple of days. Like, that's just unrealistic because everything is going to pile up on each other. So
what's your level of confidence in implementing at least one of those things right away?
Do you think it would be weird if I went back to some of the people I agreed to and said, hey, as I look at this more, could I extend the deadline to 2 weeks from now?
I think it's something to try, test out, and see how it works for you.
Yeah, I think that's something I can implement right away.
This was a great example of coaching in practice. We saw the coach ask questions, helping Brandon identify his goals or desired outcomes, what he was currently doing, what his strategies were to get from his now to the desired outcome, and then specifically asking him what his confidence level was to carry out his action plan. So as we close out, I want to leave you with a few coaching tips. The first is to create a safe space for your conversations that honors confidentiality and builds an environment of trust. You want to focus on the other person. The coaching conversation is not about you. Let go of your own agenda. Allow your coachee to take the conversation where they want it to go. Ask short, open-ended, powerful questions. Listen actively and minimize any distractions that might get in the way. Use silence skillfully and often. Demonstrate that you have the coachee's best interest at heart. Observe what is being said and what is not being said, and reflect what you observe back to the coachee. Keep your eye on the coachee's desired results and provide the needed accountability to get there. And lastly, practice, practice, practice. Thank you for joining me in this e-series related to peer coaching. For more e-development opportunities and upcoming live sessions, please visit us at trainingcenter.ac.gov.org. Thank you again and have a great day.